What could cause an investor to disregard, discredit, or even outright avoid a data point that could have saved their entire position? Why do we intentionally look away from the very vitals that tell us a trade is dying? Today on the night shift, we're performing an autopsy on confirmation bias. My name is Andrew. I practice as a nurse in Phoenix during the day, and I use the skills I've obtained in my profession to manage my own portfolio at night. Today, on episode 2 of my guide to the investor's mind and body, I'm going to show you exactly how to break yourself out of this return-demolishing trap. Before we scrub in, could I just have you do me one huge favor and click the like button down below? While you're down there, you should also hit the subscribe button. It'll notify you of any videos I post in the future, and you can always unsubscribe later if you don't like what I have to offer. No hard feelings. Great, now that that's out of the way, there are a couple of things I need to explain to help you fully understand the process here. The first principle is a concept in psychology known as the ego. While many people associate this directly to stubbornness, overconfidence, or arrogance, it's actually one of 3 components of an individual's personality. It represents a person's conscious sense of self, identity, and self-importance. Its job is to manage conscious decision-making between the id, the instinctual desires, and moral standards, which we call the superego. When we apply this to investing, think of the id as your buy the hype instinct, and the superego is the rational rules that you try to set yourself to and follow. To put it simply, the ego's goal is primarily to manage anxiety and resolve internal conflicts. Remember that. The next concept you need to know is cognitive dissonance. This is the term associated with the psychological pain that occurs when you hold 2 contradictory beliefs. It's characterized by a high state of arousal and discomfort. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, we can continue. Put simply, confirmation bias itself is when somebody only acknowledges information, data, or opinions that reaffirm their current belief. It can act like a filter that removes contradicting data points. Another way it can manifest is by discrediting these contradicting data. Last episode, we talked about how investors can react in the immediate response of seeing red. Confirmation bias can creep in during the recovery from that ER visit. Confirmation bias contradicts our goals and is actively harmful to our returns. So why do we do it? What's actually happening? Earlier, I introduced our little friend, the ego. Well, in this scenario, the identity our ego is taking on is as a smart and capable investor. When we open our brokerage app and see a position down 20%, this contradicts that identity, which creates cognitive dissonance. Now, do you remember what I said the ego's primary goal was? That's right, it's to manage anxiety and resolve internal conflict. So, thrown into that state of increased arousal, which is how we classify anxiety, the ego feels compelled to resolve this issue. In order to relieve that discomfort, it feels the need to reestablish the idea that it is right, that we are right. If we're right, it proves we are the capable investor that we see ourselves as. So, aiming to accomplish this, the ego reaches out for medicine. It seeks information to prove its point. It filters out or discredits all of the bad news and highlights the good news. It's a faulty prescription, a painkiller that prevents the ego from collapsing. As a nurse, I have to hit you with a truth that might be hard to swallow. In my training, they taught us that pain is a vital sign, but the teachings often reminded me of a pill-pushing mentality, prioritizing comfort over the actual cure. But I know from personal experience that comfort is a dangerous lie. A few years ago, I had a melanoma on my back. Because I couldn't see it, even me, a healthcare professional, I wasn't able to assess it. I didn't find the time for a checkup because the anxiety of a potential problem was easier to numb than it was to face, and the blind spot almost cost me my life. Pain is a critical indicator of a potentially catastrophic underlying issue. In your portfolio, just like with your body, ignoring a symptom doesn't make it disappear. It just allows the pathology to reach a point of permanent, irreversible consequences. Your ego is acting like that pill-pushing nurse, trying to keep you comfortable while the cancer in your trait is growing. So how do we fix a biological program that's designed to keep us in the dark? The good news is that by recognizing the mechanisms, you've already started the screening process. Awareness is the first step towards breaking the cycle. Now let's get into the treatment plan. So the first nursing intervention is what I call objective triage. In wound care, there's a process called debridement. It's when we have to remove dead or infected tissue so the healthy tissue can grow. It's uncomfortable, can be gross, it hurts, but it's necessary. In your portfolio, this means you must intentionally seek out the bear case. Go find the person that hates your stock. Don't go there to argue or defend your position. Go there to perform an autopsy on their argument. If you can't explain the counterthesis as well as or better than the person who wrote it, you don't actually understand your investment. Ideally, this would be done before actually making the investment, but we all do get ahead of ourselves sometimes. And even if you did do an adequate job at the beginning, as long as the patient is under your care, it's your responsibility to continue the assessments. The second intervention is going to be disprove, don't discredit. There's a massive clinical difference between discrediting data and disproving it. Discrediting is an emotional response. It's your ego saying that's just fear, uncertainty, or doubt, because it doesn't want to feel the pain of being wrong. Disproving is an objective process. It's looking at the negative data point, like a drop in sales, a negative adjustment to the forecast, or a change in management, and weighing its impact against your original thesis. You might still disagree with the bearish conclusion, but you aren't ignoring the symptom. You're performing a differential diagnosis. You're deciding if the news is a fatal wound or a side effect of a company's recovery. It could even be a beneficial restructuring with a negative short-term impact. I can tell you from experience that a change that causes fear in the market might even strengthen your bullish argument, and or reassure you of the prognosis. And for our third intervention, it's going to be seek a peer review, or phone a friend, consult a colleague, have a debate. In the hospital, we never work in a vacuum. If a patient is crashing, we call for a second set of eyes because we know humans have blind spots. Investing should be no different. This is exactly why I started the Night Shift Discord. It's a place for objective peer review. Whether the rest of the crew agrees with your thesis or tears it apart, that unvarnished feedback is the medicine that keeps your ego in check. You don't need a room full of people telling you you're a genius. You need a team that's willing to tell you when your vitals are trending in the wrong direction. Look, checking your bias feels like admitting defeat. It's a blow to the ego, but in this market, being right is a luxury. Being objective is necessary. So don't let your brain prescribe you a painkiller that's going to kill your portfolio. If everything was as straightforward and well-defined as math, we would all have the same returns. Keep that in mind as you confront your ego and dive into the fear head-on. Stay objective, and do the research necessary to create your own informed diagnosis. That's going to be it for this episode. I'll see you next time. Shift's over.